So you need 8 cups of fresh or frozen cranberries. You need 2 large apples, 3 to 6 cinnamon sticks, and we will be breaking those in half. I'm using star anise. It does call for cloves, but I'm using star anise in place. I don't have any cloves and I do like star anise, so I'm going to use those. And some allspice. It also calls for 2 cups of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of rum, and 1.5 cups of water, which I already have put in my pot. I have a nice big deep pot with a heavy bottom, and we're going to start cooking this up right away and adding our ingredients in here. So next what we're going to do is, as I said, I've already got my 1.5 cups of water in my pot. To that, I'm going to add, without dropping this, I hope, 2 cups of, this is cane sugar, a nice natural cane sugar. And we're going to give that a stir. And we're going to get the heat going under this. Then we're making a nice little syrup here. So I'm going to wait for my sugar to dissolve a little bit in my water before I add my spice bag into this. You could just throw your spice bag in, it doesn't really matter. But I am going to wait for my sugar just to dissolve some in here. Okay, I'm happy with that. My sugar's not fully dissolved in here, but it's good enough. And I'm going to put my spice bag in there, and I'm going to keep kind of moving these around a little and keep my eye on it. And in the meantime, while this is coming up to a boil, and I am going to chop up my 2 apples. I'm going to skin them and chop them up. And I'm going to chop them and I'm going to put them into the bowl here that I have my sugar in. I'm going to add a little bit of lemon, or if you just have lemon juice, just to stop them from browning. Okay, so our syrup has come up to a simmer here now, or a boil, and we're going to turn it down. I've already turned it to medium. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit more, and we're going to let it simmer. I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. There we go. Give it a stir, mix your spices around in there, so that's part of your flavor. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the timer to count down on this, I have filled up my canning pot. This is actually a nice little canning pot that I have. I'm an avid canner, so I have different sizes, and this is really convenient for a small batch like this, so I don't have to pull out my huge canner. I absolutely love this, and it nicely fits. I've got 7 jars in there. This will do between 6 and 7 jars that we will can up. And we are just about to come to our time here. Give this another little stir, and then we're going to start adding in our other ingredients. I am going to add in my apples, and my cranberries. Now this is actually a little bit more than 8 cups of cranberries because I wanted to use up what I had, so you could use a little bit more. It still works in the recipe. We're going to give these guys a stir. And we want this to come back up to a boil. And obviously what we're doing is cooking the fruit now, and we want to bring the pectins out in the fruit so that it'll thicken and make it into kind of like a jam. This is the same sort of idea as a jam. And you do keep your spice bag in there. You can see my spice bag there. You do keep that in there right till the end. And we haven't added the rum yet, so don't add the rum until right at the end. So I'm gonna let this come back up to a boil, and I'll show you what it looks like, and all your cranberries will start bursting open. So this has finally come up to a nice boil for us here. And a bunch of our cranberries have burst, as you can, whoop. And you can hear the cranberries bursting. They pop, pop. Steam might not be doing the camera well. That's okay. And this has come up to a really nice boil, and I've turned it back down to a lower setting so we don't want anything to burn. And to help this along, I am going to take just a potato masher, and I'm just gonna help get these guys milled down a little bit. Trying to avoid my spice bag, which is still in there, and we still have not added our rum. We still haven't added our rum yet. And we want the apples to cook down and kind of become like an applesauce consistency, right? Like you don't really want chunks of apple. I mean, you could, it wouldn't be bad. So we want everything cooked down nicely in here. So we're gonna just let this continue to boil and mash it up until it looks the consistency that you like. And the last step is gonna be to add the rum. Now it's time to add in the rum. I'm just going to pour that in. Give it a stir. This is already pretty hot. And all we really want it to do is come back to a boil. You can still see some chunks of apples and stuff in there. That's okay. It's all going to cook. We're going to continue to cook it down, like I said, until it's at the consistency you want it to be. So I've got it right on the lowest setting there now. So I'm just gonna allow this to continue to cook down until I'm happy with the consistency. I want these apples cooked a little bit more. It gets to be kind of hard because it'll spit a lot, but I'm just gonna keep stirring it, keep my eye on it, and then once it's at the consistency I like, I am going to jar it up. My jars haven't come to a boil here yet, and so we still need for all of that to happen. They're almost there. Okay, so this is at the consistency that I want now, and you're going to want to remove your spice bag, whoop, and get stuff everywhere. It'll be a little gooey, but that's okay. Okay, so if you're not going to can this or hot water bath can it, you can keep this in your fridge or even in your freezer so you don't have to do this next step. But I am going to can some of these. Well, I'm going to can all of them. So like I said, I'm just going to show you one of these really quickly, and you're going to want to do one jar at a time so that it stays nice and hot. You've got your hot jar, your hot cranberry sauce, and your hot water. So we're filling this to within 1/4 of an inch of the top. So that's like right at the top of the jar, really quite close. Oop, I think I've overfilled that. We'll see. I've got this little guy here. which I will debubble with. There won't be many bubbles in there. And we'll measure. It actually looks perfect. I'm going to take a paper towel or a wet rag, a clean one obviously, and just wipe off your rim and make sure that there isn't anything on your rim. Get a lid, a ring, and that goes into the canner somewhere. Okay, so we've got these all in the jars. The last thing you want to check is make sure you have 1 inch of water over top of your jars. If you don't, fill your pot up the rest of the way so that you do. I've already got this turned on. One thing I don't like about this pot is that I can't really get the lid on it properly, but anyway. So I've got this turned back on to high, and I'm letting this come up to a boil. Once it boils, at my elevation, I'm at sea level, it'll boil for 10 minutes.